Even cold cough. Yesterday I got the cold because it was so suddenly it became cold here.
Oh.
Yesterday evening.
Hmm.
So I know this. I take the Shita Jwara,
Even
Amrita.
cold cough. Yesterday I got the cold because it was so suddenly it became cold here.
So just right away it just stops in track. Did nothing.
Wow.
It was
Wow.
all like whole yesterday night and morning time nothing.
What is it called?
Shita Jwara, it's just black pepper and tulsi. There is a medicine like that, and Amrita Rishtam. We have it on our website. I can send that to you.
Shita Jorai.
Shita Jwara Kwatam. Shita means cold and Jwara means fever. Cold, because of cold you get fever.
Yeah.
Just finished off. Like every 2 hours, 4 hours, take two pills and finish.
Shita Jora. Hmm.
And Amrita Rishtam. It just stops in a track, all cold cough. Not viral, but just normal cold cough fluctuation. No?
Yeah.
And Amrita Rishtam, there is a Rishtam like that, little bit you take that too. Okay, shall we start? Mhm.
Sure, Prabhu. I don't know how much I'll be able to engage today. I might have to listen again,
Sure.
most for the
So,
most part.
yeah, for some time, Hari Kirtan Prabhu had very nice points. I think he discussed with you a couple of days back too, and so he was discussing. We had a long discussion yesterday.
Oh yeah.
So let's start. नमः ॐ विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमति भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिनिति नामिने नामस्ते सारस्वती देवे गौरवाणीचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यादिशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम राम हरे हरे. Dear devotees, so Hari Kirtan Prabhu had some points. He is not joined still. Let me ping him. But he had some points yesterday on what is the purpose of the whole, why we want to do this farm community and such. What's the reason? And so we were discussing about like many devotees think that the main reason for doing farm community is because Srila Prabhupada wanted us to be self-sufficient, and so we should move towards more and more being self-sufficient. So that is the main reason. So now should that be the one? What is the deeper understanding of what does it mean self-sufficiency? Self-sufficiency in what? All the tools um, like toothbrush, toothpaste, cloth making, everything, like like everything, or just food. So there is like a whole wide spectrum on what the self-sufficiency should mean, and when also when we could do it is because that will define our priorities. What is the purpose of being in the farm? Why is he wanting? Is it the main reason is self-sufficiency or ease of chanting Hare Krishna mantra? Like how so why all these questions is because these are some instructions Srila Prabhupada gave different times in Bhagavatam and other places, and then he gave some implementation instructions, but he did not really implement them. Till 1977, he was saying, this is what I want to implement. I want to come to the farm, sit there, and implement the whole Varnashram system. Now, so that is now his new meaning continuing pastime. We have to understand he is living and everything is available in his books and his person is there. In our heart is there as a super soul's extension. Also, he is in his murti form, and the person as Bhagwan feature, no? He's in every place, but also is individually present. So he's there to guide us. What does he want us to do now? How does he want us to implement all these instructions? So I thought we can take up. One second. Kirtan Prabhu, where did you go?
Hare Krishna.
Coming?
Oh, yes.
Krishna.
Just had
Okay.
so many things going on this morning.
Just,
Hi, Prabhu.
okay. So his, why don't we take up one of those? I thought we can quickly go through what Srila Prabhupada says about our chat GPT came up with these. Pandu, Pandu, stop. Okay. So I'll just quickly go through the spiritual benefits, pleasing Krishna. That seems to be the most important reason. So he says in letter on January 13, 1977, says, getting and managing a farm is a good proposal. I'm encouraging farm projects everywhere. That is very important. Solid program. So do this enthusiastically and Krishna will be pleased. Then on December 18, 1974, our Bhagavad Gita philosophy explains that men and animals must have food to maintain their bodies, and the production of food is dependent on the rain, and the rain, of course, is dependent on chanting Hare Krishna. And the rain is, of course, therefore, let everyone chant Hare Krishna, eat nicely, and keep their bodies fit and healthy. This is ideal lifestyle. We do not condemn modern civilization, but we don't like to get it at the cost of God consciousness. That is suicide. And these are all letters to, the one is to Mahavirya, September 7, 1975. The modern civilization is condemned. Innocent people are being dragged from the villages and exploited in the cities. But in the Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna recommends them to remain where they are and produce grains. Annat bhavanti bhutani. Grow your food, eat sumptuously, and chant Hare Krishna. This is real life. Krishna provides everything, but we mismanage it. Krishna wants us to pass our days here in Krishna consciousness and then go back home, back to Godhead. And on morning walk in Mayapur, April 3, 1975, he said, there is so much land. Come here and grow food. That is the desire of Krishna. Annat bhavanti bhutani. Bhagavad Gita 3:14. Produce food and eat sufficiently. Be strong and chant Hare Krishna. That is our philosophy. Why are you producing bolts and nuts, tires and tubes? Krishna does not say take to industry. Krishna says produce food. And then in a purport in Srimad Bhagavatam, which purport we can go? Similarly, a Vaishya can satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead by properly executing his occupational duties, engaging himself in producing foodstuffs, giving protection to cows, and trading if necessary when there is an excess of agricultural production. So basically, this is by doing that one pleases Krishna, just the way to live. Just grow food and just live in a village setting. Just that itself is pleasing. Of course, we are offering to Krishna and chanting Hare Krishna, so that kind of lifestyle itself is pleasing. Then about the economic independence and self-sufficiency, he says, letter to Rupanuga, December 18, 1974. Our farm projects are an extremely important part of our movement. We must become self-sufficient by growing our grains and producing our own milk. Then there will be no question of poverty. So develop these farm communities as far as possible. They should be an ideal society, depending on natural products, not industry. Industry has simply created godlessness because they think they can manufacture everything that they need. Then in July 1st, 1975, to Nityananda Prabhu, he says this farm project you should consider very important. The idea is that people can be self-sufficient and raise their own foodstuffs and have sufficient milk to save time and chant Hare Krishna. Why should they work so hard in the hellish factories? Let everyone live simply and be Krishna conscious. Then in Morning Walk in Geneva, June 2, 1974. A little labor in agriculture will be sufficient to produce the family's food stock for the whole year. You can stock, you work only 3 months, and you get sufficient food for your whole family. And in the remaining 9 months, you chant Hare Krishna. But these rascals will not do that. They will work hard like an ass simply for eating. They will not accept an easy life. Then on to letter to Rupanuga, September 29, 1975, he says, I understand that you are saving on the milk bill by supplying your own milk from the farm. This is wanted. If these farm projects are successful, then all this industry will be closed. We do not have to make propaganda, but automatically people will not want industrial life. The people are innocent. The rascal leaders say it is primitive to remain on the farm, but to do business in the city and become rogue and rascal, that is advanced. Then in a morning walk on April 3, I think if you produce your own food, then who will be your customer? If everyone grows their own grain and vegetables, automatically the economic problem is solved. No one can artificially raise prices. God has given enough land to produce grains. But people do not understand this simple economics. Everyone is busy in factories and the price of food grains is rising. So self-sufficiency, at least these quotes, lot are saying about food grains, food self-sufficient. And it's like the central importance in a civilization. I don't know how to relate it to now when so easily and so cheaply food is available through industrial means. So let's discuss that a little bit. So this foodstuffs is what in these quotes instances he's talking about independent, self-sufficient on food. You know, and not every single thing. Maybe there are other places he talks about. Now, cow protection and natural living. How many there? So should we discuss a little bit this and then keep going? Hari Kirtan Prabhu, you have any points you wanted to make?
Oh, this is if you want to pause here for a minute, then we can
Yeah.
discuss this for a little amount of time, and then we can move on.
Yeah.
So in these quotes that you've brought up here, Srila Prabhupada is, I guess we have been discussing one moment, excuse me.
Of course. Let me keep going. Letter to Hamsadut. Okay. Letter to Hamsaduta, September 9, 1975. Whenever you're ready, you tell me, I'll stop. Huh?
Sure. Okay, Prabhu.
You ready?
So,
okay.
So the I guess the important question is what is Srila Prabhupada asking us to do? What is the scope of what he's asking us to do?
Mm-hmm.
And to what degree do we pursue self-sufficiency? To what degree do we, what standard are we looking to establish here in this idea of Varnasrama and farm communities and such? And he says that the idea is so that we have more time for chanting Hare Krishna. So the important, I guess the most important aspect is to facilitate Krishna consciousness. That's the most important aspect of it. I see that in our current society, it can be very difficult to, when one finds oneself caught up in a job and being surrounded by non-devotees and such, you don't have daily association with other devotees. It's very, very difficult sometimes to stay focused on Krishna consciousness. And so, apart from supplying your own foodstuffs and just creating an atmosphere that is peaceful and conducive to sattvic thinking, to higher thinking, this will help also tremendously with being able to focus on Krishna consciousness. There is a very nice book that was compiled full of Srila Prabhupada's quotes on this subject, and I don't know if it's available digitally or where you can get one, but the book or the compilation is called Make Vrindavan, and it's a really nice one devotee took the effort to go and collect Srila Prabhupada's quotes on Varnasrama and on self-sufficiency, and I don't know who the devotee was who did this, or the group that did this, but a very nice collection. And so, yeah, I guess the discussion, the question is today, what we're discussing is what did Srila Prabhupada want us to do? What was the instruction, So
the Hare Krishna Mataji did that.
okay, very good. There we
So
go. Thank you, Prabhu.
now the whole thing is why we are discussing this is how much self-sufficiency
Right.
priorities. That is the question to figure out.
Yeah,
And because it will matter a lot in the implementation of it.
absolutely. Well, I think that just from these quotes, it's very clear that Srila Prabhupada wanted us to establish at least self-sufficiency in food.
Yeah.
I think that's very clear.
Like with as last 50, 60 years, 70 years, maybe it's been different, but all throughout civilization, food was very valuable,
Yeah,
extremely valuable commodity. That's why the economy was based by farmers, like everyone was farmer. Because it was such a rare and so difficult thing to produce. And to secure it used to be one of the very crucial areas for a family, for a community, for a state. Like in India, I remember even when I was a child, every year the grains like wheat was stored. Like everyone used to store their wheat. Like you can't trust anyone else to store for you. Like it was very late. Like when I was 15, 17 years old, that time I realized that we could buy wheat from outside, like stores. But before that, it was we have to store ourselves. There was no wheat from outside somewhere. So more or less it was the storage of grains, milk. I was considered. But now, how do we apply that? Because just 5 minutes you drive and you can get it for so cheap. So how much time should we spend now to do these kind of things? And how does it affect? Because Shiva says good food means healthy life, like fresh, like and
And,
taste. So,
so in regards to this idea of that food grains industrially are so easy to get and so inexpensive now, unfortunately, what comes along with that means of production is that the food is actually poisonous. It is not nutritious. It's not so healthy, because in order to produce it on such a large scale and so cheaply, So many chemicals, pesticides, insecticides, herbicides are used.
What about industrial grown organic food?
It is definitely better. It's an improvement. The difficulty also there is that same methods as the commercially grown food is used. The only difference is that it is organic fertilizers and organic herbicides and pesticides. That is what is acceptable in order for organic certification. So in many ways, it's definitely better, but the sustainability of those farming practices are definitely um, a concern. So whether or not that will be able to continue for very long.
Well,
So
till it is continuing, why do we have to do other things? Because what problem is that right now to live day to day, it is not just the food. We have to spend so much money and time to gather that money to live. It's not just food. So now what the industrial civilization has done is it has taken the effort out of food, but the effort has gone into other things. Like
right,
shelter is so difficult to gather, um, s because of little less, I mean, a lot more comfort is there in shelter. How,
mm,
housing is like one third or maybe even half the cost of one's living,
right.
and for 30 years on something like that.
Food used to be 1/3 of one's expenditure.
Oh, now it's just like nothing.
Yeah, no, but that was the early 20th century, or let's see, 20th century, 19th century, early 1900s. Food was 30% of your income.
So this is the problem. Do we how do we should we prioritize even growing food and farm living and everything when maybe one can, wherever you are living, one can just have a little garden and grow for oneself. Like that's it. If that is the whole point, because shelter takes so much money, then the vehicles are there just to earn money. One has to drive so much, so and because if one says, okay, no, I will just grow my own food. I don't worry about growing up too much shelter, too much of vehicles. I'll just stay here. The problem is health is difficult. The laws are there that you can't build a home um, with without that much codes, energy codes and such. So you end up spending like septic. You need energy codes. You need certain kind of roof. You can't occupy other a house otherwise. So you're
Right.
forced to like spend at least a good amount of money to live. You can't, I mean, it's forced. Like you can't live simple life like that in most of the states. Um, so you end up making, I mean, having to make money plus, vehicle then it is required. And for small things, even for, I can't produce everything. Even let's say I have a small garden, then I need to barter. There is nobody to barter. No, around people are not growing. It's all only available in stores. So I have to drive because I can't walk or because stores are far away. So every single thing forces one actually to try to make some cash.
Yeah.
So then all the other things go on top of it. All the all the endeavors and the time, energy is being taken. So it's like what Srila Prabhupada keeps saying, the demoniac civilization is not God-centered. The purpose is different. The purpose is not for the soul, it is for this body. So how do we live and practice? So how much, even 50 years back, when Srila Prabhupada was saying all these things, the food was more important, like, than now. It's a factual, it's a fact. So, and the housing was so much cheaper than now. So much cheaper. The standard living was much higher because the value of the dollar was much more, let's say, in the US. But now you can't. Just somebody can just little bit money and live and have a house. So what do we do? What should be the priority? How do we live simply and how much self-sufficiency? Shall I keep going?
Yeah, let's see what, unless someone else has something they want to say, let's see what Srila Prabhupada has to say about other natural living and cow protection.
Can I say something, Prabhu?
Yes, of
Please.
course.
Just I don't know if these are hypothetical or not, or if it's a rhetorical question for now, and you want to just wait until later to sort of answer it, or were you
These are more
one?
rhetorical, but
Yeah,
point
okay, that's
because
fine.
more we kind of think about these questions, more the juices flow to listen to Srila Prabhupada much more attentively, and also to try to understand more deeper why Srila Prabhupada, what Srila Prabhupada is saying, how to
Okay, so you're basically just setting up the question for the next quote that you'll be reading.
not
Kind of exploring the idea, exploring the concept, and getting clear what really Srila Prabhupada is asking of us.
yeah,
Okay,
but
so
please,
we should hold off on
no,
giving
please give.
feedback, or
No, please do, because that will each thing will keep on making us go deeper into Srila Prabhupada's understanding.
okay, I'll be brief, just because there's just some things that came to mind when you were asking the questions, and one of the things that he mentioned was cloth. He often, I don't know, there didn't seem to come up in those quotes, but he did refer to independence and cloth.
Shelter,
So
clothing, food.
shelter, clothing, and food, right? And I remember him hearing about him mentioning about us making our own houses. Specifically, I think it was in New Taliban when he was pointing to some pine trees in the distance or whatever, and he said, "Make your houses with those pine trees." Uh, anyway, so that's when he says self-sufficiency. I always understood everything,
Right.
whatever you need. The whole idea is to insulate ourselves from the dependence on the modern demonic civilization,
Mhm.
and obviously, then the purpose being to simplify our lives, like Prabhu said, just to simplify our lives so much, so we're not distracted or contaminated by association with the outside world, with the demonic civilization. I wanted to mention something also, which we've experienced living out in the country, but just being on our own. Aside from, we talk about earning money, and there's a lot of things that people don't realize when they're out earning money, the type of things they spend money on just to support their money making, their occupation, like having to have a car or a second car if you have a second breadwinner, and so on. But one thing that we've experienced locally is, or in our raising our 5 children, is educational experiences not being available locally, just because we don't have a village. We don't have, let's say, martial arts teachers readily available locally. So in the last 8 years, we've been uh, having to drive about 35,000 miles per year, back and forth, in and out of the farm, to get to the city, to get to the educational opportunity, whether it be like piano teacher or jujitsu teacher or kickboxing teacher, or grocery stores or whatever. So it's like, there's a self-sufficiency even in educational experiences, and even in friends and family. in a village would be very important to reduce the kind of the necessities for these resources that are hard to get and that you have to spend a lot of money on. I think Prabhupada mentioned even being satisfied with friends that you have in your own village rather than having to go out to find your friends in like in the cities and stuff. And he talked about the automobile civilization, how we're so proud of our cars, but because we have the cars, we can drive, however many miles it is. But the result is that you end up having to drive that many miles to get to whatever it is you want to get. And we actually saw that in COVID too, when people could or whatever it is, and people could work from home. And it's almost like as soon as you can do something, you will do something. And if you will do something, then you end up getting caught in a situation where you end up having to do that something. Like if you have a car, civilization will reach, like there'll be such a critical mass of people taking advantage of the new facility that you end up building a civilization where you have no choice but to do it like that. But anyway, I just wanted to add that the point of just another facet to self-sufficiency, and that is friendship and training experiences and stuff, just to get away from the automobile civilization as much as possible, because that's what creates like a snowball effect of expenses.
Mhm. The
Yeah, for what it's worth.
Great, Prabhu. Thank you very much.
Sorry, I'm just doing some work with the cows at the same time, so it's a bit,
Great.
if I'm
Um,
huffing and puffing.
so this, yeah, go on. You wanted to say something,
I was just
Abhijit?
going to say, I think that my wife made this point, is listening to our conversation here, and she made this point that Srila Prabhupada says there in one of the quotes at the top there, I'm not sure which one it was, but that you can work, produce grains, grow your food, eat something, chant Hare Krishna. This is the real life. Basically, he's saying that the idea should be to make time for for chanting, for Krishna consciousness.
Yeah.
Right. That's really the goal. So the idea, I think, is that he is proposing a lifestyle that will facilitate more Krishna consciousness rather than prevent or be an obstacle to practicing Krishna consciousness. So to create a lifestyle that allows us to spend the most time on Krishna consciousness and the least time on just maintaining our body and maintaining ourselves, So, like you were pointing out about the cost of food and the cost of things, my wife was commenting that actually we spend the most money, like you said, on housing, on rent and living. And so if we take Srila Prabhupada's, instruction about saving time, then maybe one of the most important aspects of self-sufficiency would be to have self-sufficient housing, to have some means where we're not spending so much of our time just to have a place to live, to earn the money to have a place to live, something like that. It's an extrapolation. It's not a direct, connection, but understanding kind of Srila Prabhupada's approach and his mood, that instead of spending so much time to feed yourself, you should grow the food and then have more time, So we can see in this modern day and age that housing is more of a challenge and more trouble than food is at the moment.
Oh, one place Srila Prabhupada did say, I was thinking about this, and then I heard Srila Prabhupada saying, this food that you eat, it keeps the body nutritious and healthy. Like if you grow your own food, and he was talking about the quality of the food also and everything. And So from that, I understood what he's saying is basically, you are what you eat, what everyone is talking about.
Also, it affects your consciousness.
Both things. So if the food is nutritious and really potent, then healthy. So two things happen. Lack of health, meaning it becomes difficult to do sadhana practices and normal things. And the second thing is so much money then you have to spend on your health. So which makes you go in further in the cycle of entanglement of getting more money. And the fear of getting sick, you have to get expensive insurances. So it becomes more, and you become more dependent on that whole healthcare system then. It's like disease management system rather than healthcare, So you get more and more dependent. So that's another entanglement and disentanglement one should aim for. Food really helps if one goes. But to become self-sufficient in food, it's so tough, no? Because oils, different kind of oils, and so many different kind of grains, vegetables. We are used to eating all the different things. Even one devotee is living on the farm, and people are used to potatoes. We don't have potatoes growing. So, he was going to the store and purchasing potatoes I mean, it's like, I'm not blaming the devotee, but I'm saying this is the normal thing. It's like children and all, they're used to this, and how much you can tell no, 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 no. It becomes tough for every single thing to say no. You know. So I keep going little bit, cow protection, this thing, and then here he's talking about what to do on the farms. Is why artificial? Take more land, engage them in agriculture, plowing by the bulls instead of tractor. Bulls can be engaged in plowing and transportation. Nice bullock carts, village to village for preaching. Make the farm the center and go 10 miles this side, 10 miles that side with 4 bullock carts, sell books and preach and live peacefully on the farm. People used to engage the bull for this purpose. The bull should be engaged in plowing transportation by nature's way. Oxen can be used for driving carts and go preaching village to village. What is the question of killing them? Here in India, where Loknath Maharaj has successfully organized such a program, and it is a great success. He has traveled all over India, and everywhere they distribute books, prasadam, and perform kirtan, village to village. Each night they stop at a different village. We can introduce many millions of such cards all over the world. So basically, see what. Anyway, let's keep going. But the conception of Vedic civilization was that people used to be satisfied on agricultural produce, and for 3 months working during rainy season. So they get some agriculture produce, and they used to eat the whole year. So 9 months they were free to advance in spiritual culture, and only 3 months they used to work for accumulating their foodstuff. It says, produce your own food. If you work only 3 months, you get the whole year's provisions. The balance time you save. Chant Hare Krishna. This is our movement, and be spiritually advanced. Be human being.
Can I make a comment or bring something that came to mind when you're reading this? So he says that you spend 3 months to produce your food, and the rest of the year you can live. If you think about what are all of the things that we understand or we take as a necessity in this day and age, if we accept that so many of these things that because our lifestyle is different than what the lifestyle Srila Prabhupada is describing, we have so many things that we take as necessity. So it's not just a question of solving the problem of food. So, we in our Western lifestyles and our Western climates and Western areas where we live, this food is not the biggest or only difficulty. And so I'm curious to see if we have quotes where Srila Prabhupada addresses all of it, the whole lifestyle, and what he encourages,
So, see what on I have uh, see the what I have started doing, because since I started reading these things about 20-25 years back, and preaching, and having brahmacharis, and then they want to get married, and then seeing the whole life in New York City, and how to develop Krishna conscious, remain Krishna conscious. So gradually I started developing a application understanding of what probably we should go in this direction with these questions which we are prompting. So the what I've been thinking now is this, that the main thing is that we need to the whole point is of chanting, and hearing and chanting Shravanam Kirtanam, Bodhayanta Parasparam, Bhajana Kriya, because our main purpose is that we are able to chant Hare Nam, Hare Nam, Hare Nam Kevalam. So it's only the holy name can take us back to Godhead. There is no other way. Now, anything which forces us to not be able to peacefully chanting almost the whole day long, like hearing, chanting, or serving the Lord with, so that we can think of the Lord, so that the chanting, when the time comes to chant, our mind is controlled and peaceful. The senses are like subdued, so that the mind is attentive. It's not going here there. That is the whole purpose of our work, and everything else to this is secondary. Secondary means supportive. That's our philosophy, coming from Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu down with the acharyas, and how Srila Prabhupada implemented even in the temples. And in the first instance where he talks about, let me come to that. In the Varnasrama, this place where he talks about uh, to introduce Varnasrama or not, just chanting. So, but in, okay, he did not specify. Lord Chaitanya, when Ramananda Rai brought this up, he said it was not possible in this age to introduce this. Srila Prabhupada, this is February 14, 1977, conversation in Mayapur. So Srila Prabhupada says he did not say possible. Iha bhaya. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was interested only on the spiritual platform. He had no idea of material side. He rejected material side. But don't we do that also? No, our position is different. We are trying to implement Krishna consciousness in everything. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu personally took sannyas. He rejected completely material, Nishkinchan, but we are not going to be Nishkinchan. We are trying to cement the troubled position of the, that is also in the prescription of Bhagavad Gita. We are not rejecting the whole society. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu rejected everything. Iha bhaya, rejected means I don't take much interest in this. Bhaya, it's external. We are simply interested in the internal, the spiritual. But our duty is that we shall arrange the external affairs also so nicely that one day they will come to the spiritual platform very easily, paving the way. See, this is the reason. So it becomes just easier to practice spiritual life, which is Shravanam and Kirtanam, to remember Krishna. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu personality like that, they have nothing to do with this material world. But we are preaching. Therefore, we must pave the situation in such a way that gradually they will be promoted to the spiritual plane, which is not required. So Varnasrama not required. But ordinary men they need, because they can't chant purely. They need a way. So from that point of view, I took it that okay, whatever the application is designed, it needs to be seen with this vision, that how is the chanting getting purified more and more, so that one can gradually come to offenseless chanting, not just chanting and sinful activities and here there, or not even able to chant properly, and like that the whole goal is this. So to make the way, pave the way to chant offenselessly, to chant purely like what Srila Prabhupada was saying, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who else? He's talking about Haridas Thakur, Ramananda Rai, like they chanting like that, that purely chanting. What do you all feel on the priority and the focus?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Yep. Prabhu.
Prabhu, I just want to ask, just like farm communities. So one purpose is that those devotees who are practicing, they should live very simple life so that they can save time, chant Hare Krishna, more spiritual activities. And the other purpose is like that, Varnashram. Those who are those who are not comfortable, they will join the Varnashram. Then they will accept the devotional path. So if somebody is want to live in this peaceful life in farm community, he should have that first motive, that should be that spiritual life should be peaceful, as you were mentioning that chanting should be more pure, and self sufficiency, food, shelter, and clothing. So which approach to the devotees who are practicing, who lead this life, spiritual progress, like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said that the highest principle, we have to accept Krishna consciousness kinchina, or that for everybody they can come and live and gradually they will accept Krishna consciousness.
Mm.
So what is should be the purpose?
See, the main, see how I have started understanding like this, that we all, at least this generation, we have so many anarthas in our heart. The purpose of our practicing spiritual life, what we are trying to do is to remove the anarthas by our proper, attentive, offenseless services, hearing, chanting, shravanam, kirtanam, worshipping deity, everything is, the whole thing is to remove the anarthas. However, we mold our life so that we are able to do that, so that we will be able to remember Krishna more and more, more and more deeply, to get taste in chanting and hearing. So anything which is favorable to that motion of things is what we need to accept, and we have to reject those things which don't give us that. Eh, all other instructions of Srila Prabhupada are subsidiary. When he says do farm projects, everything, if we are able to chant nicely without doing that extra endeavor, then we have to do that, no? Because the purpose is that not to do farm and everything. But if we see like now we see families and all, so many issues are there, trying to, in a city environment, trying to do that, or trying to peacefully chant, and training of children and elder devotees, and good food, so health is going down, so problem. So then we need to do that also, because paving the way we need to do, you know so plus how I've started to see is that because of some statements of Srila Prabhupada, that he didn't just wanted make farm community like this. He wanted to do Varnasrama colleges. Like here, he says here, morning walk on 1974, he's saying, and then they will be embarrassed and harassed so much by one side, no sufficient rain, and therefore scarcity of food, and the other side, taxation by the government. In this way, the people will be so much harassed that they will give up their home and go to forest. Very pitiful condition. Unless they take to Krishna consciousness, they will not be saved. The Varnasrama college has to be established immediately. Everywhere, wherever we have got our center, a Varnasrama college should be established to train 4 divisions. He goes on, and then whole conversation is like that. So my what I started understanding, the way to go forward towards a farm natural this life is basically a preaching temple, preaching center that becomes like Varnashrama college and still is preaching and teaching. because preaching and teaching or sankirtan and all these things, that is the way one gets the most purified, while also including other classes of people. In a temple place, only those could associate together who are more brahmanically inclined, who could chant 16 rounds, get up early in the morning, four principles they are able to follow. That is the kind of, and live really simply, like really in a communal kind of atmosphere. And those are the only ones who could actually do this chanting nicely. But all the other classes were being rejected in a temple environment. But when he's talking about other people coming in, like people, and should preach like that to them through Varnasrama College, how you can engage like this, train them in these Varnas, God-centered Varnas, so that association expands, the Sadhu Sangha expands, and not only the people who are these people, new people who come, they are not only trained in this, but in God consciousness, Bhagavad Gita, everything. But also the devotees who are doing this activity, they will get purified. The preaching does that, it purifies us. And even if directly somebody is not preaching, but if there is a whole purpose behind the, let's say, the temple or the expanded now Varnasrama College, everyone is like feeling like that same mission, then everyone starts getting purified because of the thinking, you know. So that's how I started looking at the first step is for us to do farm based Varnashrama colleges near the major cities, so that the preaching can be be more facilitated while we are transforming from our city life to village life. Because while this transformation is going on, because we just discuss our time, money, spent, habits, and purification levels, people are not so much interested in living in rural life, even devotees, because heart is still not simple enough. So many other things are there that we can discuss, but this is how I've started thinking like this, because of these pointers from Srila Prabhupada. What do you say, Prabhus?
It will take time, na? There's like a farm community at Gaushala. It requires so much training that after that, na, one generation, it will take time, na, so that they will be habitual to that atmosphere and that activities. What you say?
Yeah. So Hari Kirtan Prabhu, what do you say?
I apologize, Prabhu. I'm having difficulty following the conversation. Just so many things going on in the house. But,
Understood.
um, you know, if I understand, what was discussed, then it will take some time to transition. And if you can, before I say, can you please reframe what is
Sure,
what
sure.
is the
Summarize it.
discussion?
And because the point is that to anartha nivrati, bhajan kriya, so sadhu sangha, bhajan kriya, anartha nivrati, that is the whole reason what we are supposed to be doing. So that everybody gets strength to chant and do the bhajan kriya, and so that we can reach nishtha and ruchi in the taste and hearing chanting relationship with the Lord. And to do that, Srila Prabhupada, like chanting, hearing is important, sadhu sangha is important, and then the bhajan kriya, more we do preaching, more we get purified faster as a mission. So because Srila Prabhupada is saying here, pave the, like wherever there are wherever there is a center, we should everywhere wherever we have got our center, a Varnasrama college should be established to train 4 divisions. So this is the indication, I feel, the way Srila Prabhupada was envisaging going forward from city temples to to farm community living is this step process that convert wherever the preaching is going on into a college and expand that for 4 divisions so that more people are able to now live and work with the brahmanically inclined devotees who are in the temple, so that this association expands where even grihasthas and all and different sections of people, even the new people like that, could stay together and get the benefit of the association sadhu sangha. And this is preaching also, by preaching like this everybody's hearts starts getting purified, and one gets adjusted to this kind of, more going towards this educate through education. One gets more and more training to these everybody, all these classes. So that's how I've started thinking that the first step is to make Varnasrama colleges near major cities, like because the preaching can happen around the major cities and it helps in training and getting new people, because to get new people like poor citizens, like how Srila Prabhupada was saying, to come far away someplace, it's very few people will be able to come if the, it's less accessible, because people have to come go sometimes to associate, and then they start feeling it's not like one time they come far away someplace and then suddenly they will say, yes, this is for me. Usually it doesn't happen.
Right, right.
So, and plus money, because we are still dependent so much on the cash. So, and the devotees and other things. So this is how I started, because Srila Prabhupada, the temples, he was not saying you go away from the society, because
No, no.
his point is to that everything is Krishna's. And when you preach to people, you do Sankirtan, then you get protected by the internal energy, then the Maya cannot touch you. Instead, what happens is by preaching, you get purified and
Mm,
your own heart. So that was the whole thing of using the bigger thorn to remove a smaller thorn, an analogy which Srila Prabhupada uses. So, but if we are just associating, living and associating, then we get the infections. But if we are in the mood of teaching them under Srila Prabhupada, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's, the instructions, um, because with the thinking that, oh, we want to get them to the stage of chanting Hare Krishna mantra, and purely, so then we get that protection, no? Then we get that armor from Lord Chaitanya. Even if we get infected because of some weakness, because of the overall shelter of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Srila Prabhupada's instructions, they overlook it. They you just keep going. Api chet suduracharo, if it is being sincerely practiced. So that is the point of, that is how he set up his temples, his whole movement and purification of devotees and everything. So what do you say of this kind of implementation thinking?
I mean, I don't necessarily see that that the Varnashram College would have to be a precursor to. It's over by your shelf, Nandi. Okay, so look over near your Ravana. There's there. So I don't necessarily see that the Varnashram College would have to be established before we can establish these farm communities, or before we can start establishing these these communities. Also, the it seems like Srila Prabhupada was expressing all the different aspects of the society he was trying to establish. That there are training centers for, this is the colleges, these would be the temples, and the he also described the temples as being like embassies, you know.
Yeah.
So um, it appears when you see all of these different aspects that Srila Prabhupada had a vision for creating a whole society, a whole Krishna conscious focused society. And that, this idea of Varnashram is that this society is structured and organized. and that you have to train people how to live in this new society, because this is different than what we're used to. The structure, the way of living, the way of thinking about society and life and such, you know. But the reasons for and the importance of the different aspects, they all have their different kind of pushes. So the push to establish self-sufficient farms, the push to establish Varnashram and these colleges and training centers, I see those as not necessarily a linear thing. That first we have to establish the colleges to train people, and then
So, what do you say, Ramananda Prabhu?
We anytime there's a discussion of setting up a college, you assume that you have trained experts ready to just establish the college.
Mhm.
In our case, we're sort of we're in a position of having to be self-taught, unless you can gather enough experts that can just immediately establish it. If you have the funding and you already have the experts in place, I think the problem right now is we don't have those experts in place. So you're asking the students to become the teachers, right away, whereas we're not even experts, right? So how can we teach if we don't know? And so I think that's where Hari Kirtan Prabhu's suggestion that we don't necessarily need the college first, because we don't really have we have to create, maybe we need to create a village first and become expert at least to some degree before considering teaching
Mhm.
um, teaching it. And but it's like he said, it's not linear, so it's not like, okay, we don't have to necessarily wait 30 years before the village is 100% perfect. You can establish something and teach what you know, whatever degree that is, whatever facilitates uh, a perpetuation of the village, or an expansion of the village, either the same village you've started, or perhaps a second village somewhere. I think it made me think of the whole idea of distributing books, the whole idea of preaching and book distribution for the purpose of people reading the books, and you read the books and then you want to sell more books. I think the ultimate principle is to establish the village. I think the village is the most important thing, and the only reason why you would have a Varnasrama College is to promote the establishment of more villages. It's kind of like books. So the whole idea of distributing books is so that people actually read books.
Mhm.
The principle is to actually read books, not necessarily just to distribute books. So what we really want is people reading books. And so in the same way, what we really want is we want villages where people can avail themselves of the opportunities that affords them to become more Krishna conscious and chant purely and everything like that. So I think it's a very specific, like the principle is, I understand he wanted the Varnashram College because he wants the establishment of villages.
Mhm.
So you just have to look very specifically. I don't know. I think he was talking to sannyasis a lot of the time,
Yeah.
and they're the natural teachers. So
Mhm.
I guess maybe he was expecting, like, you become expert and then you start teaching this, so that so that they can start to live like this. So if you just need to look at every specific situation, whoever the candidates are that are being proposed to pioneer such an endeavor, say, okay, like, are we in the stage of establishing? Are we ready to teach? Or like, what, we don't necessarily need to say, no, college first, no, village first. Just where are we, and how much can we establish a village, and how much can we actually start teaching?
Mhm.
Does that make sense?
Bharat Prabhu, you are able to comment on it? You have time, focus to do it? No.
Krishna, I am busy, and I did not hear all of what Ramananda shared. I heard he's making a point that we shouldn't wait. We cannot wait, or shall we wait till we have the expertise to teach, so students become the teachers, and in that sense, inverting the roles. And what I hear is the stage. The different stages. I have a lot of thoughts of around all what has been shared in the beginning about the self-sufficiency and when to start and how to start. And I'm not in a position where I'm opening a Varnasarna College tomorrow, and my heart is jubilating hearing that that quote that you shared from Srila Prabhupada. So, well, I get what we did on your land, for example, when people came to the place, they loved it, and they saw, wow, this is far out, this is a different lifestyle, and they were inspired. And then this is already preaching. So this is preaching itself, just sharing it with others. And also I see, like, what Ramananda Prabhu is doing. You are learning a lot of things by doing, learning on the fly, self-teaching, autodidactive, and just sharing that with others. I can imagine that is feasible, and it's not feasible to wait and stay inactive. Action is better than inaction. So what I see there as some strong realization for myself is we need to look at the individual time and circumstances, like Srila Prabhupada so often says, and the individual persons, like how many members in a family do we have, and what capacities, what capabilities do we have, what skills, experiences, what kind of materials, machines, assets, facilities do we have, and what can we do with it? How can we best make an impact? And of course, expanding comes after investing into yourself, but you cannot do only one or the other. So there's a hybrid approach I can see, where we all need to customize and tailor what is the best approach for us, and it's up to us to figure that out. Part of this can be to establish a framework where we look at what is our status quo, what is the as-is status. I'm looking at it from a business perspective, and what I learned in project management and organizations. You start with where are we, where do we want to be, the as-is status, and the to-be vision. We look what's the gap, and we see how we want to position us. We analyze different strategies. What can we do? Do we better invest in becoming self-sufficient in terms of closing right at the start? Seems like an over endeavor. Can we create a whole village at once? Likely not. So we need a vision, and we need to see the phases and stages and see some milestones and goals, and then we can move towards it. yeah, and developing a framework is what I dream of, like together with all of you, to humbly start with different mechanics and then to learn and adopt and adjust so that anyone else after us starting has it much easier to start and doesn't need to figure out all of this now. So we have best practices, we have we have a pool of information and a pool of just information and down to earth support. Yeah, I was thinking of you, Ramananda, today. I was looking at a business case for growing cactus figs in Portugal. There are so many plants there, and you can expel the oil from the seeds, but you need like 1,000 kg of the actual fruit to get a few liter of oil. There's a very high margin on that oil, and then I was looking at different business cases for ghee and working with different oils and medicinating them, and I was thinking, maybe I'll contact Ramananda because you know which machines are needed for all the work with the ghee, and you have experience with that. So in Varnasarna College, in that context, I also see that you share your knowledge and I share my knowledge and everyone shares their knowledge, and maybe I have some experience in management and someone else has some experience in something else, and at least we start supporting each other. And then where we have some proficiency, where we get to a level, like in management, you look at the skill level of some role. You have tier 1, 2, 3 or so, and you define what's the skill level 1, 2, 3, 4. For example, for someone working with cows. And when we reach a certain skill level or a certain development level for small scale dairy, then at which point can we start to onboard people and teach them, showcase? Yeah, I think it's very individual, needs some creativity and some determination and purpose, and it needs also some it needs structure, flexibility. It's an unique new adventure. I'm looking forward to this for the next decades.
Very well said, Prabhu. For as far as we're concerned with the oxen training and the milking, I'd say we're probably on tier 1. But it's very encouraging when you actually when you're on the threshold of crossing over tiers and you say, okay, well, actually that's where we're at right now to some degree, and that was the purpose of our trip recently, was to bring ourselves from one tier to another tier. Because the question I was saying, okay, the way that we're doing things, could we actually teach it to somebody where they go away saying, hey, I can do that? And my answer was no. We need to become more expert in the way that we do things, so that we can actually be effective in impressing anybody to say, yeah, I can do that. That seems
I get what you say. I mean, you have seen in Newport's, like I was training Beamer and I was not an expert at all, and it was partially very frustrating, and I'm very glad I did it. And now I absolutely disagree with what you say, because
I guess it depends on the nature of the candidate. When it comes to our own children, then the pressure is a lot lower. You know, it's like you just come and we learn together, and we call ourselves the Varnasrama College, so because you know, yeah, I
Yeah.
know what you mean.
I'll share one example, another thought I had today. Like in this kind of business case I'm working on, I'm looking at olives. In Portugal, you get so many olives. And what I dream of is uh, having a farm property where with funds from the European Union, I rebuilt a I rebuilt an ancient mill, and it can be done funds without them. It's not that expensive. But make a mill where the oxen go in a circle and they just crush the olives with stones. So it's a simple stone mill, and I don't need to train these oxen much. They just need to go in a circle. I can imagine I can do that. Yeah, and if it's the only thing I can do with the oxen, it's a very strong use case for showcasing to people. You don't need to kill them, and
Yes.
if I can manage, uh, and I'm just brainstorming here. I'm not saying this is my goal. I'm determined to make this happen. Like make a big mill where people, the neighbors, they can come, and I do it for them. They don't need to go to the presses where it's clogged at the peak season. It's very hard to go to the mills, and you pay a lot, or they mix it with other olives, and then you don't know what you get. So there are a lot of downsides. And having our own mill in Portugal is gorgeous. Being independent, having our own mill and showing others oxen can do it, uh, it's great. And then even getting attention or getting money for it, then it can be a business case for others to take that up as well. So I think you have so much more than you think you have. Even you are on tier one on a lot of levels. You can showcase to people there's a much better life to live, and I think it's our duty to do that to some degree. Maybe for everyone it's different to move ahead there, and it's also psychological safety and how much privacy do I want, and the plan how to share with others. So there, like in project management, you also look at obstacles. What are our obstacles? What could go wrong? You look at it like a risk analysis, and yeah.
So very good, Prabhu. Very good discussion. I what see I as far as the Varnasrama College and the linear progression, I feel very strongly over the years. I've started to more and more understand why Srila Prabhupada is saying turn the centers into Varnashram College, and and basically each farm project has to be an offshoot of the Varnashrama College, and the reasons are like these. Like a community, like even a family, you see, is not able to live together properly in the Kali Yuga, even devotees. It's not like a fault of devotees so much. It's the training of not, let's forget the whole farm, all these things. We are talking about just relationships. In the West, it is very tough. No one teaches actually properly having relationships, service attitude, the etiquettes, the like Lord, like to Lord Krishna, Arjuna is saying, I don't want to kill all these elders because then the jati dharma and kula dharma will vanish. Who is going to teach that? Now, what is jati dharma, kula dharma? These are related to varnas. They are like how each person will deal with each other. They are not just like the occupation only. It is so many things come with the occupation, like a whole ecosystem is there in a social ecosystem under which these occupations are performed together with other people, so that the competition mentality and the elders, even in that, when somebody who whose word should be taken more important than others, when it should be given preference, when it keeps going. I can go more in detail, but I've seen that happen in Jaipur, in so many different communities. They have like a whole peer pressure because of which they end up doing certain things. These are all kula dharma, jati dharmas, and we have no knowledge of that in the Western world here. None. Like very tough to do all that. That's why so much of friction among people is there, among devotees also. And it's like so much more. Devotees have so much friction in just basic dealings, and the service attitude part, and like a whole. So that is one aspect of it which without training, people are not able to going to be able to live for long together, even if all, oh, we'll all come and live together in a farm, and it doesn't happen because they all break apart. That is one big reason. Second big reason is that we have to preach to get more people. Otherwise, we will remain like this, one single people like that. How do you develop a farm without really expanding yourself with preaching Krishna consciousness to make more devotees, to attract them to a farm, by purification and all? Then they come to farm, more simple living. How do you do without preaching?
Prabhu, there I want to connect again with what Ramananda said initially before you asked your question. Then you also mentioned, the preaching that, as I understood, he was referring to or interpreting that this is your understanding. Yeah.
So the preaching, first
So
preaching.
one thing I would like to ask around it. I mean, on one hand, I would like to hear you say something about that, and also what is the definition of preaching then?
So that's
If
Srila Prabhupada, when he came, he is not talking about how to live peacefully as the main preaching. That's part of the whole purposes of ISKCON. But the most important like preaching is that you are servant of Krishna and you should surrender to him, your soul. That preaching is more important, no? Because if you are connected on the farm level, that this is great, and you preach that level, that is good. But then you get atheist also, or maybe just like favorable people, but they may not understand all the intricacies of why God-centered life we are living. So you don't really closely develop. I did that whole thing over so many years, got people interested in the farming and everything. But when you go really closely together, you can't really work together because their priorities are different, because they are thinking their bodies. So you have to first, like the preaching is like, first preaching is Krishna conscious preaching, Krishna consciousness, God consciousness preaching. People who are favorable to that,
so I
then you teach the other things also of how to live a lifestyle to do that.
so basically is that boiling down to don't preach to the atheists?
I mean, everybody more or less is atheist, except if they are innocent atheists, then no problem. That's what we want to do. I mean, that is the mission, no, of Lord Chaitanya. His mission is not this thing that we show simple living. Mission is to show how to be God conscious.
Well, yeah,
And then simple living
of
is
course,
simple living is
it's simple living, high thinking, and what is preaching then? And I don't think it always needs to be Harinam. What is preaching for the farms? And
overall that is the goal, no? Unless Harinam is there, it's almost impossible to remove the affections, bodily consciousness, and all these things from
Could
the
you
heart.
give some practical examples then how to implement it with farm life?
Yeah,
How
exactly.
you see
Tell
it
you.
in terms of frequency and in terms of application?
So that's exactly what I've been thinking and trying to develop, how to incorporate all these things so that it becomes the Varnasrama College becomes a preaching center while living in a farm and going towards more and more simpler life. How is this scenario where we start with Varnashrama colleges near the big cities. So many reasons. I
Okay.
think. So then so people we attract people as for whatever reasons, for cow protection, for philosophy uh, of reincarnation, whether God exists, homeschooling, how to do. It's all different subjects. Srila Prabhupada used it in teaching Sanskrit initially in 1966 in the Second Avenue Temple. He was teaching Sanskrit. He's not teaching Bhagavad Gita like that. People were coming for Sanskrit, and then he was using the Bhagavad Gita to preach to them. So that any which way we get people coming, sadhu sangha, in a respectful manner, you know, other
So, hmm. Oh,
so we use all the tools that we can. We don't have to just only farm or anything. Any tool people can get excited, come to us to learn something because we can incorporate God into everything. From every single angle we can incorporate. Plus through prasadam, through their hearing here, there, people who are coming for
yeah.
directly Krishna consciousness, we can tell them what about God, everything. Like a
Hmm.
Sunday preach. Anywhere we can everyone at a different level, we preach differently to bring them to the next stage. That is for the outside preaching. That is the getting new people in, you know. That we should continue doing. That Varnashram College teaching for others, whatever our capacity is. Like only a little bit of we know about growing food. That's better than like city people. So that much we can teach. Start
Hmm.
there. Yes,
Yeah.
second is about incorporating Harinam. So that is, if that's why I'm saying if it's near the cities, at least once a week, Srila Prabhupada said like that, once a week you go, everybody in the temple should go out on Harinam Sankirtan. That is easy to do, even while doing all the work, everything on Saturday or Sunday, 1 hour, half an hour, 45 minutes, wherever one needs to go, one can go and do this Kirtan, you know. Then the second thing is what I'm most interested in doing is using the tools of the farm. The way I'm thinking is that on the farm, we gradually develop to such an extent that we develop festivals, festival party based on the farm, devotees living on the farm. Like
Hmm.
there's a Srila Prabhupada said 3 months of the year there is growing of food going on, and then 9 months they are free to practice spiritual life. Right. So based on that, I started thinking what is, and then oxen should go around the villages, everything. So based on that, I started thinking, what we could do probably is base it on the farm. Devotees are there, different, artists and farmers. All these things are growing and doing everything during the summertime when the vegetables are growing in Northeast. The remaining time, when the colleges are going, we can go from the farm in traveling these because now householders also have grown their food more or less, many of them. So and brahmacharis, all these people together, maybe 15, 20, 30, whatever the people are, they can go to a college to put festivals there
Hmm.
and then put all the different stores of growing and farm, these, that thing. Food is so excellent. So to attract, where are you from? We're from this farm, about 1.5, 2 hours from you. Come over for the weekend, you see how we are living. And they come, see the chanting, they see all kinds of attractive, different people will be attracted in different ways. So now what will happen is that kirtan and the festival and the drama, everything, everybody in the farm can becomes oriented towards those 3 or 4, 5 months of like festivals, like preaching.
Hmm.
and giving them the whole thing about the way of life is this how we are living. And we have courses here on the weekends. These are the courses we are doing. 4 courses are there. Whatever it is there, we start doing, and then develop more and more knowledge like that. More people will join of that thinking, okay, this is the kind of thing, oh, this looks good, I can fit into this, my inclination is this. And then gradually it can expand from there. Just like in a temple, we have preached the same way, we do the same thing but expanded in a farm. Then so like this kirtan included, preaching included, everyone gets more one mission oriented, that this is what we are all doing together for the whole year long. Even if this thing is going only for 3 months, but the whole mission is there, everyone that together, that is what we are aiming towards goal. So all the farm activity, we are storing vegetable, getting the ghee together, prasadam, we are getting the grains together, getting the construction ready. Everything is oriented, can become oriented towards that time period of 3-4 months when heavily some portion of the devotees are going and going to these colleges. And it's so enjoyable for younger people, including children, to do this. Even families, women, I mean, artists, tendencies, everything can get satisfied. And the preaching also gets, people get, heart gets purified out of those attachments of using abilities.
Mm. Yeah, I see Pradyumna has the hand up. I would like to respond to Nimai.
Pradyumna Prabhu.
Yeah, yeah.
You can complete. Yeah, Bharat Prabhu, you can complete.
Hare Krishna. Yeah, I get, Nima Prabhu, your vision is alive. Yeah, there you have many ideas what can be done, and I would love to take some of those ideas and make them available as like a pool for ideas what others can use for tailoring their vision. And I get this is your vision, and maybe a lot of this is applicable for others. I can imagine festivals. We have one farm that is not an hour away from us, or maybe a little more than an hour. We have visited them once, and they do festivals. For example, end of the year, they are called Ananda Valley, and they have a lot of similarities with what we do, but they are Mayavadis, of course. and they do chanting, and they have a huge tent, and so many people come there. It's a very nice example of preaching. They have a restaurant in the town. They are with the locals, and they get people from all over Europe, like kind of woofing, but something with the European, with funds from the EU. So something like that, I can imagine that is very successful. And what also comes to my mind when you speak, then, and in response to what Ramananda was asking earlier, I can see like a quota for how much time do I invest, like for preaching. You say at a minimum, like once a week, couple of hours, and maybe it's not 15 devotees. Like when you describe it with what you have in mind, then maybe for some, when they hear like 15 devotees, and for you it's like it's only 15 devotees, but for others it's like, well, that's not applicable for us. I don't want to play devil's advocate here. I'm just saying what I hear and what I can imagine, what blocks people, and that it's not absolute what you are describing.
The lack of preaching, no, this is what will happen, no? Because if we preach Krishna conscious preaching, then we can develop more devotees, no? That is the law, like that. The more we go out and preach, or we provide place for preachers on the farm, and they preach and they bring devotees, that's how we expand, no? That's how the community expands, like that. Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, everyone, different duties, and then more people come from the preacher. Oh. Yes, Pradyumna Prabhu, you were saying something?
Yeah, Prabhu. So yeah, one thought came in my mind, just like for Adhu Shraddha, then Sadhu Sangh. by sadhu sang, bhajan kriya, this chanting and everything is possible, and then anartha will go. And as you said that for that sadhu sangha, we have to educate them so that they can live peacefully. So I was asking, just like Bhagavatam, in that morning program and evening program, we are discussing this all the things in Bhagavatam, and so I was just asking, okay, what will be educated in differently in Varnasrama College? Just like 1 month, 1 month everybody is hearing Bhagavatam. Then all the topics related to everybody, something will be he will learn. So I do not know. Therefore, I'm asking. Just like in
No, occupation, Srila Prabhu. See, the one thing is morning, everybody is same, no? Same thing, because that's the whole point of having sadhu sangha is the whoever can come to the morning program according to their abilities. They will. I mean, you should make it so inspiring that everybody comes. But we are knowing that only Brahminical people will regularly come. Rest of the people may not be able to come regularly because they are not at that level. Not like it should be automatic. No, some little bit peer pressure is good, but not like in us community, but not like injunction like in a temple to a brahmacharis and to others. So yes, it will be great if we can get most of the people coming to the morning program, chanting, hearing together, and then the Bhagavatam lecture together. That would be wonderful. I know that's what we aim for. That's why the association is to be. That's the most important reason for the Sadhu Sangha, farm community where we expand this association. But then a Varnashram college, the students, like, especially if they're student, they should be coming, regularly in the morning. That's what Srila Prabhupada says. Now, as far as, but in the initially, we can be tolerant, initially it takes time for people to come to that level. But regularly, one or twice is one thing. Maybe we can say, oh, once a week, 2 or twice a week, you should come initially and then gradually increase it. But then what happens is when they are more interested at that level many times for learning how to make money from sattvic way, and that's why they are here to do cow protection or dairy or grow fruit and everything, but how they can make money because they want to have wife and kids and they want to maintain and peacefully. So expert devotee would be that they can teach that occupation by incorporating Krishna within it, consciousness, to those devotees who are not. I mean, that's what Srila Prabhupada did when he was doing the Sanskrit classes in 26 Second Avenue while teaching from Bhagavad Gita. And then he was very happy when Bhavananda in Mayapur, he was teaching English to local Mayapur people, like Bengali devout people, by teaching from Krishna book. Same thing. So they are coming to learn. I met one devotee. He is a full-time devotee, long time. He told me, "Oh, I only came to the temple at that time in 70s only to learn English and eat food." Because that's all. He was not interested in this whole thing. And then gradually, because coming and people are chanting, he's looking at it here, there, and people are nice to him. And then gradually he said, "Oh, this is very nice." So that's the mood. How to now expertly incorporate Krishna and how to gradually and nicely bring devotees, like new people who have no understanding. That is expertness, no, through born out of compassion, out of thinking about every living entity is part and parcel of Krishna. And this is Srila Prabhupada's instruction to us. We are serving him by bringing these souls closer. So that intelligence and Krishna gives that ability, that understanding, that how to like really mellow the whole thing down, incorporate it in so expertly that they don't really see that happening, but they become more and more devoted.
yeah, but that one more thing. Sometimes happen, just like you are telling that you will guide them to how to earn, but one is guiding and one is regulating and controlling also. Because once somebody is earning now, he will like, okay, or more high, why you will tell me? So there must be some regulations that is also there, no?
Regulations meaning we have to only, as a teaching institute, we can only tell what are the pros, cons of doing like this, doing like that, or how I am doing it so that I could continue doing, like that. The teacher can say how I am doing it, sharing it, then leave it to them. They have to experience, no, the misery of going too much, and there's a lot of misery, and they've heard from us, and hopefully now they are hearing from Srila Prabhupada also from his books. Then gradually they will mature in that, how much to balance, the balancing act, how much, because each one has a different balancing act, because each one has more or less capacity to utilize the resources in Krishna's service, and more or less capacity to get infected also by the material nature. So we cannot direct them or regulate them. Krishna from the heart only can do that. We can only give them the tools, no, to be able to do some introspection, and have some more uh, 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 the the strength to be able to resist or not resist, and be confident in the decisions they are making, that it is what Lord wants. Ramananda Prabhu, you have any thoughts?
Yes, Prabhu, I'm just appreciating, just digesting your vision and appreciating. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, Prabhu.
And no, I appreciate what you meant and what you mean by wanting to. Well, first of all, we don't need to limit the Varnasrama College to simply just teaching how to grow food necessarily, because Varnasrama is all encompassing, including Brahminical, the Brahminical Varna, and the preaching of Krishna consciousness. So you wanting to make sure that we establish the missionary mood right off the bat, and so that everything is being done with a missionary mood.
Yes.
Um,
The Srila Prabhupada's mood. That is
and we
the
don't necessarily need to say that we are all, yeah, Srila Prabhupada's mood, that we're all, we have to wait, or that we don't have anything to teach, and if we can't teach how to live self-sufficiently, because it's not necessarily the only aspect of Varnashram. There's also the aspect of what the goal of Varnashram is, and so we can start, and that I would say, well, that falls into a category of one of our expertise already. As devotees, we've been devotees for 20, 25 years or whatever, however long it's been. Um, doesn't need to be that long, but at the very least, we can preach Krishna consciousness,
exact. And we should
and
start
sort of,
like that.
and that would be great, because that really establishes once and for all that these villages are preaching missions also, and so we can start from there at the very least, and as we develop expertise in the other fields, then we can just teach those as we learn them, type of thing.
And then Krishna will
But
send those preaching other people who can do much better other things.
yeah, I like that a lot. Actually, in the last week or two, I was been thinking about that, because we've been emphasizing a lot, and I know it's just because you need to emphasize on one thing at a time sometimes. But I was often thinking, well, what about the Brahminical life? What about what activity Brahminical, what was it, the Agraharam, and what's going on amongst the Brahminical body of devotees? And I'm assuming that there's going to be a preaching mission going on with active Sankirtan and that whole thing. Aside from teaching and teaching Krishna consciousness through a school or something like that to the children of the community, but I was thinking that, yeah, there absolutely has to be a missionary, an established missionary mood to that temple.
Whole community.
And I was just curious to know of your vision on that. Like,
The
I guess
Brahmin
more as a matter
mission.
of principle, and also specifically, like, how would you see missionary activities
So
from that temple? So thank you for expanding on that, Prabhu. I
yeah,
appreciate
all
it.
what I, we are we Srila Prabhupada is doing that, no? He is with that mode that everyone very fast they should get to Krishna's lotus feet, attached to him. That's his whole purpose of doing it, what he has been doing. So, I mean, as soon as we start chanting and reading, that's what we get immediately. He doesn't hide that, no? Like he's overtly there. So we can't lose any opportunity, no? Every opportunity we have to see, like everybody, not just Brahminical people, everybody, because we are Vaishnavas more than these classes. Of course, we are not pure Vaishnavas. That's why we keep falling down from the level of, Brahminical level. So that's why the Varnas are being classified for our benefit, Devi Varnasrama, not just chanting, just like Srila Prabhupada was explaining. So be- but everyone is more a Vaishnav than Vaishya or Shudra or anybody else. So, but how to engage in the preaching mission? That is the whole Varnashrama concept. That somebody is a cook, which Srila Prabhupada implemented, but didn't call these names. But let's say he's a cook or a cleaner. So, according to when we classify, one would be a Shudra, cook will be maybe a Brahmana, maybe a Shudra. But they are all in the preaching mission that if I cook so nicely, people will get so, attracted to Krishna, and that's why I'm cooking. Then he's a Vaishnava. So in that time period and everything, as long as we keep thinking that is to Krishna and the souls and everything. So the job of the leaders, the Brahmana and the Kshatriya, is to keep everyone in that mode, everyone, whichever class they are in, because that is the way people get purified from the heart. Because you see, that the heart has so many anarthas. Devotees, because we are focusing on devotees also, no, we get so much affection, material affection for our family, but we dovetail it to serve them, to serve Krishna. We dovetail it by saying, I want to really serve them so that they chant and they get purified, they get liberated. But we can see that the affection is there, immediately comes, the body consciousness comes. Otherwise, we would be doing with the same intensity, with the same consciousness, same monetary thing for everybody in the world, whoever comes next to us, not just our children or our family members. But that's fine. That is how, like, otherwise we will be sannyasis. But that is fine. But we have to go, grihasthas have to come above it. No, there is a process. It's not that we stick there. The process, so preaching is so important to do that, because that pushes us. Srila Prabhupada says by preaching, they think of Krishna. By talking about Krishna, they're selling books, because many people say, oh, why to sell books is material activity, all these things. But by he's saying, by selling books, they have to talk about Krishna. So they remember Krishna like that, because as everybody does whatever activity or talking or whatever, one starts thinking of Krishna, and gradually that attachment to Krishna will go. The most important of those activities is Sankirtan, which means glorifying Krishna in different ways of chanting or books, and just like dressing the deities so that his beauty is very attractive, or making the prasadam so attractive. Like that Sankirtan, no? That is the one which purifies the heart the most. That is Lord Chaitanya's special mercy. Among that also, the holy name chanting directly is the most purificatory for bodily conscious grihastha devotees. Very easy to immediately start feeling the pleasure by sung together chanting, because of which it becomes like you forget all these other things, and because the overwhelming pleasure which descends from the spiritual world while congregationally chanting, as we are all experienced it, that like removes all that. We don't even think about anything. Everybody we start thinking as spirit souls so fast. And so to really to get ruchi in chanting and taste in the chanting and hearing and remembering and getting affection for Krishna, We have, why wait for years and years and years, 20, 30, 50 years go by and we are just like that. We have to do more and more Sankirtan, and that is what Srila Prabhupada did. Immediately he started telling devotees go out and chant, and because they were getting so much pleasure and they were able to get rid of so many. So all our Varnashram College, whatever the farm community, everything needs to be oriented around Sankirtan, like expanding the glories of Krishna, and also Hare Krishna mantra too, directly too. Some way or the other, we have to think about how to incorporate it, time, place, like really, really, we have to like modulate it so that that goes on as the most important activity. I have seen why I started thinking like this is in 2002 and 3, I, because of especially hearing from your father and I mean father-in-law and everything about the farm and everything, I was thinking how to implement, because you were going to Mexico, and I was thinking whether right what to do, how. So it was just a conceptual thinking. So while traveling with the Sankirtan party during in northeast and till Florida. So then I started going to different farms to see what Srila Prabhupada did. And there I started seeing that most devotees, they are not like really elevated, like because there's so much free time on the farm, how they're spending time is like really horrible, no? Like there are some many devotees like in this marijuana and everything. And then I understood that there is scam kirtans going on and people are driving truck, and I mean it's not farm based and everything. So but even after so many years the heart is not getting purified. So farm living is not the one which purifies the heart. What purifies is the sankirtan. And I started thinking, if the mission is there around it, of the farm, then that could really energize everyone, become everyone gets so enthused. So and then more than that, then I started seeing the examples of the devotees, both our God, what's the devotee? Suddenly it went out of my from North Carolina, Madhua Prabhu and Vishnujan Maharaj also. Same thing they were doing, staying on the farm, having the bus, and doing festivals. And I feel like Krishna is inspiring them because they are really wanting to serve, and they how to do this. And so I think we should just follow in that footstep, and it'll be very pleasurable for devotees to do something like that. Anyway, I'm finishing now.
Yes, I agree wholeheartedly, Prabhu. That has been something that we've tried to incorporate in our family life over the last 8 years, especially with Aprakrita Prabhu doing Sankirtan. Um, and it's a challenge, of course, because of limited resources and time and sort of being stretched in a lot of different ways. And that's part of what enthuses me now, or something that I aspire for into uh, a, let's say, community, or with a community of Brahminical sort of, or Brahminical people that have Sankirtan as their core sort of core mission. Because there's it's really nice to be on the farm and everything, but if it's not incorporated with Sankirtan, then it becomes um, a little dry, and
Dull.
as much as have incorporated Sankirtan and that it would just be wonderful if we could team up with others that are more focused on that. So it becomes like well, there's probably some efficiencies there, but it really takes a village, and part of that village is devotees that are engaged in Sankirtan as a
Exactly.
primary occupation.
Exactly.
And then you can just kind of like hook in. It's hard to initiate necessarily all the time
Ex-
when
Very
when
correct, Prabhu. Very correct. So
energy is.
that's where we are
Yep, yep.
talking about agraharans to make them free of all these, the same thing what we are doing, make them free of that time and energy so that they can just do that. They should be qualified enough to be going out every day, whole day long, and thinking of preaching, organizing preaching, so that their time is spent in doing that, so that the whole community gets uplifted. Oh, that's why I feel like in Agraharan or something like this is important to make them free and secure. Like, because if as soon as one person is there, then it's okay. But as soon as wife is added, then children are added, maybe then the parents are added. It becomes more and more insecure feeling if one is not financially good footing. Then the time and energy and the focus from preaching, everything goes lesser that much, and then we'll all will not benefit from it, we'll all suffer from it.
Yeah, even if those devotees aren't necessarily there right off the bat, if if at least through a combined effort of all the people in
Right. Like you were doing with
all,
Dr.
all
Prabhu.
all the people, like even all the village, if there's at least like a weekly program or something where you have a festival every week, and you invite people,
Yeah,
and you make the Krishna consciousness aspect the of the attraction,
that's
or
complicated.
that's the attractive feature, and then doesn't necessarily need to be, but according to resources,
Yeah,
according to the people that are available.
yeah,
Even just a weekly program, but that's made easier because there's so many more people to contribute
yeah.
to the whole function. We've tried to do that, but it's very difficult to do.
Yes, both the things. I know I face the same problem. That's why I'm so much particular that we have to get some Brahminical devotees who can be situated, they can be free, and their task is just to do this Sankirtan. That's the most important aspect of any community. So that's why it's so important to situate them. Pradyumna Prabhu?
Yeah, Hare Krishna, bro. Yeah, bro, very nice point that na just like after some time that na it will be very easy that 3-4 month that we will have food and everything shelter. Then if we do not have engagement and then environment is very satguna, then again we will go back to the anarthan if we do not have that
Yeah.
sankirtan preaching work and all this thing.
Exactly. बिल्कुल exactly what I've been thinking. What's the point of becoming slow, like less food, like time for chanting, meaning whole day? How do people chant? Otherwise, then the mind goes back to, watching movies and doing all these things, and all that nonsense activities will start now. Like one big part of when I was a child, 10-year-old, I remember we went to a village. Our servant's village was there. He took us to the village. We stayed for a couple of nights. I saw, my God, every evening they would gather, like from 6 onwards, maybe 10, 11 o'clock. They were having these dramas, Ramayana, Mahabharata dramas. All the village was gathered around, and of course there was no TV or anything at that time. But everybody just gathered around. They just entertainment was going on, and social life and entertainment with Krishna in the center. You know, it's so nice. And then we would go, and then early morning they were getting up. Daytime because it's hot, no. Daytime they would sleep, but that was their schedule. So entertainment is a big thing, no? So without, like, if free time is there, but there is no alternative entertainment, then automatically we would want to entertain because we want to relax, no, in the evening time, after the whole days of work. So only few people can only read and chant as their entertainment. Other people need all these things, like drama, dance, music, all the art to keep everybody. So Brahminical devotees are there, Sankirtan, everything. Then the same thing with the artist devotees too. They are one of the most, especially now, because there is so much pull of the entertainment industry to take one into Maya. They are as important who can do Krishna conscious entertainment to replace it, to keep people away from the Maya. It's so important.
Day before yesterday, we were doing Govardhan Parikrama. So it was very silent, and one Brajwasi, he was simply playing that, what we call flute, bansuri, all the way. So it was such a nice atmosphere. Na? So these natural things that, as you were telling, that Ram Leela and all these things, Krishna conscious, that is very important.
Okay, let's end here. It was very good. I hope Hari Kirtan Prabhu was here, but I'll send him the recording that he can. And we are discussing this exact, what should be the concept of our staying and living. We are Goshti Anandi, Srila Prabhupada says, no? We have to increase our association. Oh, that's where we get pleasure. Hare Krishna, everyone. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripasindhubhya vika patitanam.
Panchakalpatarubhyascha kripas.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.